A few days ago, I ended my sort of health-based hiatus from YouTube on this channel to bring to you a news story about the zealots out there trying to rewrite human history for the basis of their propagandistic campaign to control rather intimate details of human lives, specifically how we eat, for their own weird religious purposes. And I say religion because that's what they're doing. Let's be honest with ourselves here. But I decided that it was time to try to get back to at least once a week, if not twice a week videos. So here we are. I'm going to talk to you about 5 things that are common tips given in the carnivore space that I found did not work for me. Here's my caveat with this. Just because they did not work for me does not mean that they will work for you. In fact, I may add a bonus one at the end here, so let's take a look at this. The first of these tips is that you're supposed to only eat grass-fed beef. And there's a very good reason for this, right? The way we feed conventional cows is less than ideal. A grass-fed, grass-finished diet is the proper bovine diet, and the meat has a little bit more nutrients in it, shows less sign of cellular and muscular stress, those sorts of things. And they tell you that because of those things, you will have a better reaction to the meat. And that's true for some people. I have encountered people who said they had problems with commercial grocery store beef. But if they had grass-fed, grass-finished beef, they had much better outcomes. Those people certainly exist. I'm not saying they don't. What I'm saying is that for myself, I can eat cheap grocery store beef just as easily as grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Now, I still have a bunch of beef that I bought from a local rancher, and I will be going back to them to buy more in the future. But my pocketbook has greatly benefited from not eating only that grass-fed, grass-finished beef. You don't have to only eat grass-fed, grass-finished beef to have a successful carnivore diet. Don't believe the propaganda necessarily. Now, for some people, it's true. If you are one of those people who has to eat grass-fed, grass-finished beef, let me know in the comments if that's you. That's certainly not me. The second piece of advice that you're often told is that you should only eat beef or beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and that's it. Now, I find that advice odd because people will tell you with a straight face that you can eat bacon, but you can't eat other forms of pork, even though bacon is actually more processed than other forms of pork. I can eat pork and some amounts of chicken just fine without any consequences whatsoever. I can rarely, if ever, eat fish. As my ketogenic and carnivore diets have progressed, I can handle processed farmed seafood less and less than I could before. And given that I live in the American heartland, I can't exactly have access to fresh salmon. It's just not feasible. The best I can get is flash frozen. And I haven't tried that yet, but the last few times I've had salmon, it was bad. It went right through my system so quickly that it was a problem. There are some people who tell you only eat beef, or with a straight face, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, but then tell you you can't eat the same animal that bacon came from in other forms. It's odd. Pork is fine. In fact, often so lean that the problems with the fat are almost non-existent because some of the cuts are just that lean. Now, again, there are exceptions. I recognize that fully. Other people will report that they have inflammation issues if they eat pork. I totally get that. In fact, they often say that about bacon. I'm saying, for myself, I found that I can eat pork, I can eat chicken, I can eat lamb, some shellfish just fine with no negative consequences. That I thrive the best when I limit my dairy intake, almost to the point of consuming no dairy at all. That's also not an uncommon thing to hear, by the way. If you're trying to lose weight, trying to lose excess body fat, then dairy is not what you should be eating. That I can attest to you is very true from experience. Third one, this one really aggravates me. You will see from very high-profile carnivore doctors that you only should exercise 2 or 3 times a week for 40 or 45 minutes at a time. That advice, when I tried it, was catastrophic for me. It led to a spiral. I can't even begin to describe how bad of advice that was for me. I'm the kind of person who needs to make time in my schedule every 4 to 5 days a week to spend at least an hour, hour and a half in the gym doing heavy training with a little bit of cardio attached at the end. Moderate cardio to get some steps in, or a little light bike ride, or some elliptical time. The idea that I don't need to exercise to have a good experience on this diet was remarkably bad advice. It led to some catastrophic outcomes for myself. My point in bringing to you so far these first 3 is that not all advice does not apply to everybody. There's no one size fits all in this. you have to sometimes see what works for you and what does not work for you. For me, that did not work, limiting my exercise. I am trying to get my workout schedule back to where I was beforehand. But things have gotten so busy with my work life that it's actually kind of difficult. And it became really tempting to not stick to my schedule and to just listen to that advice that I suspected wasn't exactly good for me. It might be good for other people, but it did not work for me. I thrive the best both physically and mentally when I am hitting that iron several times a week, not just a couple times, for more than 45 minutes at a time. For me, a 45-minute workout is a short workout that I can do on a busy day. But otherwise, I do better. I thrive when I have more time in the gym. That is just something I've discovered over the years. And that piece of advice, I'm really upset that I actually followed that bit. And I wish some people would stop pushing that advice. Number 4, this one you're going to hear. You've heard this advice countless times. They tell you don't need to take supplements on this diet. Those, again, bad advice for me. I went back to taking creatine. Now, the first objection to creatine that people have is that if you eat 5 pounds of beef a day, you don't need to take creatine. I haven't seen too many people doing a carnivore diet who actually eat 5 pounds of beef a day. Yes, Dr. Shawn Baker does. But Dr. Shawn Baker also is working out a lot more than, say, 45 minutes a time for a couple times a week. He pushes his body to the point where he can easily consume 5 pounds of beef a day. I have no doubt about that. I can't do that, and I probably couldn't afford to do that anyway, even if I actually wanted to. I'm also trying to get rid of excess body fat, and eating 5 pounds of beef a day is not going to help me on that journey. So I brought creatine back in, which helps with performance in the gym, some mental clarity stuff. It's the most studied supplement in all of human history. The stuff is safe, and it works. Another one that I have started taking again is ZMA, which helps with post-workout recovery and helps with your sleep cycle. It's a wonderful supplement, not very expensive. It does wonders. And I'll start taking a immuno health boosting one that has got a bunch of different vitamins, D3, C, some zinc, some other stuff in it. And I started taking that one because, quite frankly, I needed it because if you've been paying attention to my channel for the last year, you'll know that I've gotten sick a lot. And it was caused by a couple of things. Cross-contamination with chicken, food poisoning, combined, I think, also with me eliminating supplements from my diet. So I brought the supplements back. I've limited my exposure to chicken that I get from a restaurant that I'm not cooking myself. And hopefully this will be taken care of eventually. But it annihilated my gut flora, and we're trying to get it back. And so I brought back the supplements. And so far it's worked. I'm probably not going to bring back, branched chain amino acids or protein shakes or anything like that, because while I've successfully lost body fat in the past using whey-based protein shakes, I'm not sure that after doing strict carnivore for a couple of years that that'll be the case anymore, because carnivore diet will change your metabolism. It just will. We all know that. And 5, the most controversial one, is coffee. When I stopped drinking coffee, I became a different person. Not a different person, obviously, in the literal sense, but I stopped drinking coffee for 6 months, and then when it got cold, I'd had a single cup of coffee after 6 months, thinking I wouldn't even like the way it tasted anymore, but I was been out in the cold for quite a while, and I needed to warm up, and so I had a cup of coffee, and it was the most magnificent thing I've had. And my wife told me afterwards, like several days later, that she had noticed my mood was greatly improving consuming coffee. There are a whole host of health benefits to coffee. There are some downsides, of course, to all that caffeine and some of the acids in the coffee. But I have found that coffee doesn't negatively impact my carnivore diet, and that it actually helps me out with my mental health and being generally a more pleasant person to be around. I know some people won't like that advice. Let me know in the comments if that's you. That's fine. But it works for me. And these 5 things were things I had to change to try to get my carnivore diet back under control, because things were not going well in this last year of being just sick over and over and over again. And plus all these external stressors like that tornado that I had experienced last spring. So let me know in the comments what you think about all this, though, and hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. So to sharing this on social media, that helps too. I'm Anthony Stine. I'm trying to help you with some practical carnivore advice here at Practical Carnivore. Thanks for tuning in.